Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be solving LeetCode 905, sort array by parity. So we're given an integer array called nums, and we want to move all the even integers to the beginning of the array and all of the odd integers to the end of the array. And we can return any array that satisfies this condition, so any permutation. So we're given 3, 1, 2, 4, and we can output either 2, 4, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, etc., etc. So how can we solve this? Well, we know we can use 2 pointers to solve this, like most other array and string type questions. So we'll say left will be starting at the first index. In example 1, that'll be at the value 3, and right will be starting at the second index, and in example 1, that will be the value 1. So what are we going to do? We need to loop through this entire array, and whenever we run into an even number, we need to push it to the front. So how can we do this with the 2 pointers? Well, left is pointing to 3 in this case, right is pointing to 1. They're both odd, so what does that mean? That means we should increment our right pointer by 1 to get this value, the third value in the array, which is an even value. Okay, so now what? Now we know that the left pointer is pointing to odd and the right pointer is pointing to even. We can simply just swap the two and then check if our left pointer is pointing to an even value, then and only then can we increment our left pointer. So let's do that. And we can do that with a for loop. You could do a while loop as well, but I seem to have been doing a lot of those lately, so let's use a for loop. Let's say for num in range length of nums minus 1. What are we going to check? Well, we have to check if the left pointer is pointing to an odd value and the right pointer is pointing to an even value. So we'll say if nums of left modded by 2 is not equal to 0, meaning it's odd, and nums of right modded by 2 is equal to 0, meaning it's even. If this is true, we just swap the values. So we can say nums of left comma nums of right will now equal nums of right comma nums left. Right, so that'll swap it. Now what can we do? Well, we can increment our right pointer. So we'll say right plus equals 1. But now we also need to check and make sure that the left pointer is indeed pointing to an even value. And we can do that by just saying if nums of left modded by 2 is equal to 0. If it's even, we can increment our left pointer by 1 plus equals 1. And then at the end, we can return our array, nums. So let's get rid of some spaces here. We'll run this. And it passes both test cases, so we'll submit. It passes, so go back to the description. What is the time and space complexity of this problem? Well, we are not using any new data structures. We are modifying the original input, so our space complexity is going to be O of 1. And the time complexity is, we're using a for loop, and we are touching at most all elements inside of the array, so that will give us a time complexity of O of n. Now, generally, you don't normally want to modify your input array. So what you could do is just make a copy of your input array, call it something else, and then use this same exact algorithm on the copy of your array, and it'll give you a space complexity of O of the length of whatever your data structure is, the copied array, but the time complexity will be the same. So that'll do it for LeetCode 905, sort array by parity.